So, as a client, do you know what your hairstylist goes through on your behalf? Probably not. I don't think that people know how hard hairstylists actually work in the salon with clients. Maybe because you don't really dwell on what your hairstylist is actually providing. But even just like washing someone's hair is quite physically taxing. And I just want to talk about some of the things that maybe clients don't realize they are getting for their hair service, the value that the stylist is providing. And it might be a little bit eye-opening to people that are looking to get started in a career in the hair industry, and maybe why they might not want to do it. So I'm a really like highly sensitive human. Probably, I wouldn't say too sensitive because I think sensitivity should be rewarded. I take on a lot of people's energy. When someone is in my presence, I am really trying to serve them. I'm trying to think how I can be a support to them. And then I'm also thinking about the task at hand, which is their hair, and like how to make them feel better, and like what are they truly wanting and what do they not want, what do I want to avoid, what kind of hair services have they had in the past, and like how can I make this the best hair service that they've had or different from other hair services. I have had assistants work with me that I've personally trained that haven't had hair experience, and the services that they provide as an assistant for me are things like washing out a client, scalp and shoulder massage, hand and arm massage, a little bit of prep for chemical services, prepping the client for proper like wardrobe for chemical service, things like that. And one of the things that an assistant told me once when I was training her was like, I had no idea that this was this hard of work. Like, you don't stop. You don't sit down, you don't take a break, you barely feed yourself during the day. I haven't seen you gone to the bathroom, and like washing people is, I'm like breaking out in a sweat. I was like, yeah, I don't think people know that before you arrive to work, you've done all this preparation for your day. And generally, if you are doing it how a traditional way that a hairstylist would do it, a lot of the hairstylists go get their chemical order for the day or for the week. They get their back bar replenishment, any other tools they need, accessories. They maybe pick up the laundry that they had from the last night's work that has to be folded, and then the salon, maybe it wasn't fully clean, so then they got to go do some extra cleaning, and then they've got to prepare hot towels and make sure the complimentary drinks are there. Just there's a lot like on the mind of a hairstylist when they get to work. And usually it's like, am I going to be able to finish this coffee like before the client comes? Well, it's true. I would think that like a salon environment, how I could compare it, and I really think this is a pretty direct comparison. It's equivalent to working in a restaurant kitchen. Like the amount of stress, if you're a fan of cooking shows, like I love watching Master Chef and Gordon Ramsay stuff, and seeing just like the pressure that is like I feel that same pressure when I am working in the salon. And then you have a client that comes in, and you want to make sure that they feel welcome, and that you're not like thinking about all the other stuff that you need to do after work, or even the next person that's coming and timing. You've got all that running in your head of like, okay, so like I've got this time block to have a consultation. Then I got to prepare like the chemical. Then I got to mix the chemical. I have this time to like rip foils. Okay, then I'm going to apply the chemical in this time block. Then it's going to process here. And I'm going to get them their hand and arm massage. Then I'm going to wash them out, and that's going to take this time block. Then I'm going to have this for their haircut, and this. Like, you literally are in your head like trying to keep on time, while the client is also just like, this is their time. This is their like me, rejuvenation, take care of myself, self-care time. So they are trying to relax and catch you up on their life, and maybe they've had like serious issues over the last few months that you've seen them, and they are telling you all about it, and you're trying to sincerely listen and be empathetic and be a real human being, all the while you're trying to manage everything that's going on in their hair. And if it's a chemical service, you're like, are those foils developed? Are the ones in the back? Do I need to pull those early? How's that color in here? Like, what toner am I going to use? Like, there's all these things you're running through your head. And then you add on like the proper formulation. So yeah, you're wondering, okay, maybe I need to use, this level for that because that's not going to lift properly. Or maybe I need to use 2 toners, like one from the mid-lengths and ends and one for the roots. Like, you're running those formulas in your head, and it's a lot because a lot can go wrong with chemical services. And the client has no idea that you are managing that. Plus, they're getting their therapy. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be demeaning when I say, like, I know I just said, like, they're getting their therapy time. Legit, most clients feel like their hair time is a form of therapy. But they do not equate the, like, money that they're paying for that service. They're not, like, putting it in that value. And so I think it's important to talk more about what's going on in stylists' head and all the things that they're managing and they're providing to the client more transparently in front of clients, like on videos like this, so that clients know actually like what the stylist is managing. It's not like, yeah, you just came to do your hair, like get your hair done and I'm just gonna slap some foils and color in because I know this formula works all the time. No, I did a crazy amount of formulating to work with what you have already, plus all these other steps. It's so much. And honestly, like, the conversations I've had, if you've been a client of mine, like, we have deep conversations. We laugh together, we've cried together, we have talked about, like, serious things, hilarious things, really deeply sad things. You've probably shared things with me that you haven't shared with other people, which that should tell you something. Like, if a client ever says, I can't believe I just shared that with you, that's a really good cue that they're using the appointment as therapy. Like, they're getting something out of that. I could go pay $200 to a therapist and have them barely ask me any questions, just let me talk. And I paid $200 to have someone let me talk, and that hasn't really given me a lot of tools either. Like, that's been my experience over the last few years with therapy in general. But it's made me really like kind of bitter almost getting therapy. Certain forms of therapy, there's ones that have worked, but just like a general therapy session, I get so resentful over, because I'm like, I am paying you more than I would for a hair service, and you're literally giving me like just an ear, and I'm not walking out with great hair. But I've had clients come to me and be like, I wasn't sure if this was going to be worth it, because like, I've never paid this much for a haircut before, but to be honest, I feel like I had a therapy session that was better than my like sessions with my therapist, and I'm leaving with good hair. And so, like, for me, knowing when I hear those comments, and I've charged a rate that I feel is like equivalent to what I'm giving, I feel so much better as a stylist. So I really think that if you're having like those interactions with your clients, you're probably an empathetic human, and you probably should be charging more. Not all stylists are like that, and you shouldn't really be overcharging for work that you're not providing. But I know how I felt when I didn't charge those prices. I was feeling taken advantage of and really burnt out, and like I just wanted to quit. Like, I'm sorry, but if I, after a hair service, have to go home and be in silence and like weep because of the emotional energy like I took on, and I'm only getting paid something like $50 a haircut, like, it's not worth it for me to get up the next morning and go back to work. I literally have to spend like a day of recovery, and it just doesn't feel worth it. It feels like I gave more than I had to give, at expense to myself. And so just something to keep in mind if you're a hairstylist and like you're having those experiences where you feel super raw after like a hair day. It could be your chemical interaction, but I honestly think it's dealing with different nervous systems and the way that our nervous systems interact. Like, that's a fact. Huberman Labs has like a pretty interesting little quote on how our nervous systems interact, and I think that hairstylists really could like benefit from listening to that episode, because if you're feeling like super raw and like gross and nauseous after a hair service, I think a lot of that has to do with like the energy that was just given to the client and the client given to you. And so when I was getting paid, $360 for a haircut, $500 for a haircut, that felt equivalent to what I was actually giving to the client. When I was getting $50 for a haircut, and having that much like distress in my body afterwards, like, this is not worth it. This is not the industry I want to be in. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you're also experiencing that. I know a lot of people don't. I think that empathetic hairdressers should get paid more in this industry, because they don't have a throttle for a boundary, because you're just wanting to help the person in your chair and like let them be your whole souled moment. And if that's the way you operate, like, you definitely should be charging more, because your client is getting more from you than they are from the traditional salon experience. So just something to keep in mind. It's not easy work being a hairstylist, and I really think that if I was to recommend anyone going into the hair industry, if you are a sensitive human being, like, there's so many things that you can do in life that would really like help those qualities shine and not like hurt them, because you do kind of get hurt in this industry. You get hurt from being in school and like not really seen and really just overly criticized in hair school, to being hurt in behind the chair in the salon. Like, you could be giving your absolute best to a client and to a service, and then you have things like, well, the salon told you have to do a chemical service in an hour and a half, and that person came in with an inaccurate color history from the appointment that was booked like on the books. It's just like, no, this doesn't match up. I'm going to need 4 hours for this. But you try to do it in 2 hours because the expectation is that they booked an appointment for 2 hours, so it was going to be done. And even though you did everything you could to like make it the best service possible and to get the results, like, it just was like not the right expectations for yourself set and for the client. And so you end up just being so burnt out. Like, why am I working this hard and never having like a good result or a payoff? It's because like there's workflows in place that don't benefit you. They really just like detract from the good superpower qualities that you have that could be used like to really help and make you feel better. But the thing is, if you're in the wrong environment, those qualities just get really kind of judged or labeled as like negative qualities, when really like they're really positive things to have. So yeah, that's my little rant on that. Is if you're an empathetic hairdresser, sorry, I'm like petting Frankie here, don't be in a hair industry that does things this way. Like, do it on your own time. And what I mean by that is like, don't go into a salon. When you go into a salon and you can see clearly like you're putting in so much effort into your services, and other stylists around you are not putting in that effort, and they don't really care about even the basic hygiene in a salon, like, that's a good cue that like you're probably not supposed to be there. And it's probably better for you to have your own place, which could be in a standalone salon, and do things like the right way from the start. Do things your own way. You don't have to do haircuts in an hour. You can do haircuts in 3 hours. You can do chemical services that take 6 hours long. and get paid the equivalent for chemical services in that time block, and you will be way more safe and healthy than the traditional way of doing things. The way we do things in the hair industry right now is completely broken, and you don't need to be a part of that. You can go your own way. To quote Fleetwood Mac, you can go your own way, and I highly recommend it. Once I realized like I didn't have to do things the way that everyone else was doing them, it empowered me and it made me feel so much better. However, I waited too long to do that, and I don't have the health that I had before, so like I couldn't. It would be impossible for me to work the way that most people work in a salon. All right, that's all I got to say about that. It was a long rant. You're probably still not here listening, but if you are, I hope that you feel not alone, and just know, like, I'm here to validate that the hair industry is broken and you're doing the best that you can, and you can keep going, and you can do it your own way, and you can do it a safe, healthy way, and your clients will love you for it, and you can make a wage that you can actually live off of and maybe even help other people with.